The fact that I lost 2 decades of my career, and my career spans about 3 decades plus, the fact that I lost 2 decades because of a flawed thought process. I believed that if I take care of my performance will take care of my career. It did help to some extent. Super focusing on my performance did help. I did get my promotions. I did get my salary increments from time to time periodically. However, 12 years ago, I discovered something called as executive presence. And that did something to my career like never before. I'm angry that why did nobody tell me about it 20 years ago, 25 years ago? I'm angry about that.
Hi, welcome to another episode of The Angry Coach. This is Vivek. And today I have a very special guest with me. Today I have Coach Harish Walavalkar. Coach Harish has been working with very senior leaders, for example, CEOs, CXOs, and vice presidents of some of the leading organizations in the country in order to help them build an extremely high executive presence. Coach Harish has been in this space for 12 plus years after leaving his fantastic corporate career. Let me also add, Coach Harish has recently launched his book, How to Talk Like a CEO, and it's something that I'd highly recommend to all of us. If I'm not wrong, Coach Harish has also been nominated for India's most influential coach, as well as for the Indian Influencers Award. With a big round of applause, let me welcome Coach Harish onto our podcast, The Angry Coach. Coach Harish, welcome.
Thank you so much, Vivek. It's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is all ours. Coach, as I get started, I have this one question that I love asking all the coaches. What makes you angry?
What makes me angry? Okay. The fact that I lost 2 decades of my career, and my career spans about 3 decades plus. The fact that I lost 2 decades because of a flawed thought process. I believed that if I take care of my performance will take care of my career. It did help to some extent. Super focusing on my performance did help. I did get my promotions. I did get my salary increments from time to time periodically. However, 12 years ago, I discovered something called as executive presence. And that did something to my career like never before. I'm angry that why did nobody tell me about it 20 years ago, 25 years ago? I'm angry about that.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing from you is that you're angry about the fact that while the performance was good, but an ability to communicate that performance in the right way would have made a significantly more difference, and nobody taught you that very early in your career. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, because I focused on the content. If I'm giving a presentation to a high stakes person on the other side, I'm focusing on my content. It's only when I came across this competency called as executive presence, I realized that the how also does matter.
The how of it does matter. Now, it's a very curious term that you're using, executive presence. Could you help us understand a bit more of it? What do you mean by it?
Sure. So I'll give you an example. And this example will reinforce the statement which I just made, that along with the what, along with the content, the how also matters. So here I was in a big 3 management consulting firm. I was called to coach this wonderful talent, and I call him as a top talent of the country. So here I was in their big 3 management consulting firm, right? So plush office, nice, fancy, teak wood furniture. He's sitting on the other side of the table. I'm sitting here. We are meeting each other for the first time. And visualize the scene, Vivek. This is how he introduces himself to me. And to help you visualize it better, I'm going to try and mimic the person. So forgive me I'm not trying to mock the person, but so that you can visualize what happened on that day, I'll try and mimic the person. So here is how he's introducing himself to me. Thus, Hey, hi Harish. My name is so and so, and I have a total of 12 years of experience. I've been in this organization for the last 3 years, and I'm a chartered accountant by profession and
Hmm.
All India CA Final First Ranker. And presently, I'm put on this case in a fintech company where I'm supposed to consult them in building their top line. And he went on and on and on. Now, mind you, the scene is
Hmm.
over. Okay, scene one is over. Mind you, I am a
Hmm.
professional coach, so I'm trained to
Hmm.
listen with full attention. Seldom you will get full attention from your audience. I am
Correct.
trained to listen for every word, and yet I almost missed out on something incredible he just said. So I'm going to repeat to you what he said a little bit differently now,
Hmm.
and maybe you will understand the point that I'm trying to make. So what he told me that day is that he is a chartered accountant, which is a very nice qualification. Told that most people don't even
Right.
pass in their first attempts. This guy not only
Correct.
passes, but he secures an All India rank. I don't know whether you heard that in scene one. And which rank?
Hmm.
Not top 100,
Hmm.
not top 10, not even top 3. He's securing an All India first rank. And we are talking about all India, right? We are not talking about all Finland, where the population is not much. We are talking about a populous country. So I can imagine that there would be hundreds and thousands of other candidates. And this guy is beating every single one of them. And he's coming on the top. So definitely one of the top talents of the country. But I almost missed out this big point when he introduced himself to me in on that day. But now that I'm telling you this differently, you would appreciate the talent of this guy more than in scene one. Yes or no? So
I would
this is,
agree. So what you're
yeah,
saying is that what grabs attention is something he completely missed out, and it came much lesser.
this is what happens at the corporate workplace all the time. So the presenter is prepared on the content. The presenter is making the big points to his stakeholder, and the stakeholder may not be listening with full attention. Even if the stakeholder listens with full attention, the stakeholder may not fathom
Hmm.
the depth, the value of that big point the way you can if you're delivering the same content a little bit differently, like I tried in scene two. And this is only human.
Right.
This is only human. And hence the statement, the how you say is also sometimes even more important than the what you say. So you might be making the big points, but if it is not heard, then the impact is not made. A good idea doesn't get accepted, maybe because the way it was presented to the audience. And therefore, it's critical for not just the individual, but for an organization. Executive presence has a direct link to an organization's top line, and in many cases also to their bottom line. So if an organization is conscious and aware about supporting their employees build executive presence, and if they are able to deliver the big points, you can easily see how it is directly linked to their top line. Because they'll be talking to their clients, they'll be talking to the stakeholders, they'll be having internal meetings. Good, valuable points can get lost if not presented with presence. That's the importance of the topic.
Good, valuable points can be lost if not presented with the right presence. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I would completely echo your point. I was in one of the sessions and we were talking about the values of an organization, right? And the way one of the people presented the values versus the way the founder then presented the values made it extremely different. And it's not that the
Yes.
founder did anything, added any words or anything, but his mere presence and the way he was delivering that content
Yeah.
really helped the audience internalize it. So I
Absolutely.
get it.
I've seen this over
Harish,
and over again.
it's a great example that you shared.
Sorry, I think I interrupted. Go ahead.
This is a great example. You were mentioning some other examples that you have seen like this.
Yes, your comment just made me think of this one other incident, and I'm seeing this over and over again in corporate companies. Probably you have seen this too. That when a junior person gives a presentation, the junior person is usually in a hurry to get it over with. There's a lot of stress. A lot of senior folks watching him very quickly. So he or she is in a hurry to get it over with and come out of it as quickly as possible. Whereas the same content, if presented by a senior person, the person is more comfortable in the airtime. The same point is being delivered to the audience, but a little bit differently. And hence, most seniors, like what you said, are able to make a better impact than most juniors because they have learned this through experience. A junior person typically would cram a lot of points in that small time space, whereas the senior is comfortable in using just one or two big points, but using the space nicely so the impact is made.
That's such a beautiful example that you have given, and thank you so much for sharing this.
Sure.
I'm also curious about one more thing, Harish. We mentioned how the juniors are fast and how the seniors tend to be a lot more gravitas oriented or weighted oriented. Do you see senior leaders also making presence mistakes? What are some examples there?
Most seniors have learned through experience, trial and error, winning, failing, failing, on how to deliver a big point. So they have a essence of how they should be presenting the big points to their audience. They even prepare very well. So I've seen this big difference on why a senior person is more effective, because they spend more time in preparing before they deliver versus a junior person who would be spending lesser time in preparation because he or she is doing so many things. So the seniors do get it right. But if I have to make a recommendation to them, I would say learn neuroscience. Because once you understand how the human brain works, then you will be able to deliver your communication in a way it appeals to the human brain more than what you are able to do, minus the awareness of neuroscience. So I think it is not their mistake. It's just that most of the senior leaders are ignorant of something called as neuroscience and how it is closely linked with executive presence.
Now, neuroscience and executive presence, this is, I think, something very new and something I am very curious about. Could you help us understand this a little further?
Sure. So I was in this another fantastic organization, very people-centered, huge 50, 55 plus $billion revenue. So naturally, we can call that company as superbly successful organization, takes care of its employees, everything going fine. They have this one employee whom I was called to coach, and this employee was actually frustrated because he was promised a promotion and they deferred the promotion by 2 years at a director level. So it was quite a big promotion. The guy was frustrated because 2 more years, I got to wait 2 more years. And the first meeting that I had with him, the first session, he's making a statement, I will make my performance do the talking. And I'm saying, deja vu. So you're super focused on your performance. There are other big factors which probably you're not aware of. So performance is definitely a huge factor, which will get you the promotion. But there are other factors, and most of the other factors are softer areas. And to understand the softer areas or soft skills, nothing better than neuroscience. Everything else could be theory, but neuroscience is the science of how the human brain works. Hence, a necessity for leaders to being educated on neuroscience.
And what is also emerging is the complete lack of awareness that this leader perhaps has on what is limiting his growth. So you keep working upon one element, which is something that you know and something that you've done, whereas you're completely blindsided to another element, which is perhaps the one which is limiting you.
Absolutely, and well said, Vivek.
I think that's such a great point.
Yes.
That's a great point. I know you've written a fantastic book, How to Talk Like a CEO. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your book?
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So this is the book which I wrote. It took me about 10 years from conception to finally being okay with publishing, because this book contains
Wow.
three major parts. If I can break this book into three parts. The first part would be the neuroscience. So the neuroscience is the foundation set for leaders to, even before we jump into the second part, which is the tools and techniques. So the second part has 40 tools and techniques on how one can present your content with presence, how one can talk like a CEO. So tools and techniques. And the third part is about how one can build one's respect, how one can build one's credibility at the workplace. And of course, if you learn how to build your respect and credibility at the workplace, you can apply it at home as well. So summarizing the book, it's broken into three parts. The first part is the neuroscience, which is a non-negotiable. I believe every leader must know about the neuroscience. Second part is the tools and techniques. And the third part is how you can further build your credibility and respect at your workplaces.
How you can further build your credibility and respect with organizations in your workspace and use neuroscience as a basis to build that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
Fantastic. It sounds like a very important read for all of us. Where can a person get it?
It's available on Amazon, on Amazon.in as well as Amazon.com. Amazon.com, I believe, is more for the US and European market. Amazon.in for us Indians.
Got it. Excellent. Harish, I'm going to dive a little further inside with you now.
Sure.
You are a coach and you've spent almost 12 years in this profession. I'm very curious to hear your story. What got you into coaching?
A stroke of luck.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. A stroke of luck. So I was working in this leadership training company. I got headhunted into the leadership training company after 18 years of working in the technical space, because I am basically an engineer. So I was in a technical space, getting my promotions, heading a country. And then I felt like, wow, leadership training space would be something I would love to do. So I joined this organization, and they sponsored one of their directors for a coach training course being conducted in the US. But it was a lot of commitment for the director, a 1 year long, very intensive course. So the director opts out. I become the replacement. And I took to it like, I took to it like fish takes to water. You know, for the first time in my life, I felt like I'm meant for this. This is what I have been looking for all my life. So I was doing reasonably well in that course. I did some advanced courses after that. And it's been 12 years. So 12 years ago, I got my stamp of approval from the International Coaching Federation that I am now qualified to start coaching. Struggled the first few years. That's another story. Some other day, maybe. But once it started flying, neuroscience made a difference. Neuroscience made a difference. So once it started flying, I started getting fantastic feedback from every single person I'm coaching. And that really helped. It's been 12 years, and I'm still very clear that this is the only thing I'll do for the rest of my life. So you know me, right? I've been rejecting lucrative training offers because I kind of know that this is where I'm very, very good, and training, I'm good, but coaching, absolutely, this is what I'm meant to do.
Understood. This super focus is in itself a very strong power, correct? An ability to be able to pinpoint exactly what you want to do and then say no to so many other opportunities.
Yes.
How are you able to build that focus? How are you able to build that?
It's a difficult decision, even now, because Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Good, good.
Yeah, so the difficulty is in the temptation, Vivek, because saying no to money is really tough. Everyone needs money. Money is important. You need it. You need as much as it can come. So saying no to some work is really difficult. However, I can say that my 30 years of experience held, because had I been doing this maybe 20, 25, 30 years ago, I would have fell for the temptation. So I would have experimented with a lot of things. Today, I'm very clear the clutter is out. That if I do this one thing, I'll be doing a fantastic job. I'll be adding a lot of value to the other person. And this is the game, right? Adding value to the other person is the game. If you're not adding value to the other person, then you don't get talked about, you don't get called back, and sooner or later you will fizzle out. But if you're adding value to every single person, then you survive, and not just survive, but you thrive. This is what I realized now after experimenting with a lot of things, and hence the clarity that I'm meant for this, I'm good in this, let me focus on this.
Fantastic. Wow. That is incredibly awesome. And I know your super sharp focus and your ability to remain on that particular goal as well is incredible. In fact, something that I deeply admire and respect.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Thanks a lot.
For anybody who is looking to become a young coach, Harish, anybody who's looking to start this career as a coach, you've spent 12 years on it. What would your advice be to them?
My advice to them is it's a fantastic field. So everybody should learn to be a coach. You may not want to jump into coaching full time, but I'm very happy when anyone tells me that I want to be a coach, because it's a fantastic education that you can do for yourself. My recommendation is there are two ways on how you can actually build this skill, this competency. Either you can do an Arjuna or you can do an Ekalavya, with reference to the two characters from Mahabharata. What I mean by doing an Arjuna is you find yourself a fantastic coach, mentor, who can train you to be a coach. And it's the fastest way, the shortest way, the quickest way on how you can get your skill up to a reasonable level, working with a coach. And not just if you want to be a coach, but in any domain, if you want a functional expertise or a soft skills expertise, finding a coach is a very beautiful way of very quickly building that skill. It's probably the most powerful option available on the planet today. But if for any reason you don't want to work with the coach or spend that money, then you can do an Ekalavya, where you're reading books, you're watching videos, you're shadowing role models, building the skill for yourself, trial and error, falling down, getting up, falling down, getting up. You can do an Ekalavya. These are the two options I would recommend to any budding coach. Take your pick.
Yeah, take your pick. So I really like this Arjun and Ekalavya example. Thank you so much for sharing this as well.
Yes.
As we look to wrap up, Coach Harish, what would be your advice to people who are starting their journey towards executive presence?
If you are starting your journey towards executive presence, I think you're already clear that the how matters many a times more than the what. So I don't have to repeat that. But as you're preparing your journey towards executive presence, I'll say that the key would be in practice. For example, just about anyone can learn to ride a cycle, right? We are not born to ride a cycle. It is an acquired skill. So executive presence is also an acquired skill. Just about anyone, an uneducated person or a PhD can learn to ride a cycle. But you can be skilled in it if you're sitting on it for a long time. If you fall a couple of times, don't give up. If you give up, the skill doesn't get built. So be at it, practice. It may take a long time, but it's not something where it's not an end, it's a journey. That's what I would say.
it's not an end, it's a journey, and keep practicing at it. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what I'm gathering is, one, make sure that you are clear about the need to build a presence for yourself. It's not something that will be taught to you. It is something that you really have to ingrain within your own self. Right?
Yes.
Second is Arjun versus Ekalavya model, which is you can go for a training, you can go for any of the workshops, or you can go the Ekalavya model. You can reach out, get Harish's book on Amazon.in and work your way by learning this. And the third element that I've got that from you is practice. Practice.
Yes.
It's okay to fall down, rub your knees, but like you would in a cycling, make sure you keep doing it. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Well summarized.
Excellent. Harish, this has been a fantastic conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking us through what you do today. I'm sure our professionals will benefit a lot.
I hope so too.
I know we will be in touch. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure talking to you, and this experience was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Harish.